Right. My name is Rio Waller, and I'm teaching CIT82 Intro to Web Development. I'm so excited you're here. I'm authentically saying that because this semester, starting in the spring 2025, there's some changes coming to this course that are both nervous, and you'll hear me say this in the week one attendance, and also exciting. But this is what happens when we try something new, and I'm guessing, are trying something new by taking this class, so I'm glad you're here. One of the questions I get, and we're actually in our Canvas course, you've already clicked into here, you've seen this list, you've seen the video that you're watching now. Well, one of the things I get, a common question based on the reality of the world that we live in, is it still a good career path for web developers? And the answer to this is right now it is. What does the future hold? Nobody knows that answer. So I thought, you know what? It'd be worth today jumping over to ChatGPT and asking Chat, what do you think? Right? And when I say think, we could have a whole conversation about that. And by the way, drop into office hours if you want to do that. But and this is what I ask: is learning web development still a good career path? Absolutely, and it goes through a high demand, constantly evolving. Whew, couldn't be more true. Flexible versatility. I totally, in my career, prior to being in education, that's one of the things I loved about working in the web developer web. In many different ways I've worked in it is just the flexibility, entrepreneurship, attractive salaries, and there's also, just because of the world the way it is something that I think is very logical to ask. It's a good thing to ask if the thing that you're studying is going to be relevant. And here's what I would say is absolutely, we know how much technology drives our many aspects of our world. So learning some of HTML, CSS, and of course being in the program is really a good skill, in my opinion, to have. But I want you to know, and it's like I said, it's a good question to ask. So this is sometimes, and what I'm going to say by this is I provided a link here to the program for web developer at Fresno City College. And some of you may be taking the CIT28 client server databases, which I also teach. And then, you're in this course, so you also may be taking that one. But one of the things you'll hear me say is I don't recommend taking 28, 82 at the same time is okay, but don't take it when you're taking 93. And 93 is JavaScript, which I also teach. Now, 85 comes after 82, so that one you can't take at the same time anyway. But you can see here the breakdown of the core classes and then the classes that you get to select from, right? So this talks about, in this case, what you need to do. And by the way, we have great counselors on the CIT business education pathway. Lori Swan comes to my mind, but please reach out and I will connect you with them if you want to talk to them. Okay, back to here. So, overview of the class. So this is a 9-week compressed course. Okay, so remember, you're starting at the beginning of the semester. By the time we get to the halfway point of the semester, this class will be over. And then you, if you happen, which I hope you are, enrolled in 85, you will then continue on to CIT85. Now, one of the great things about Canvas, if you don't already use it, is the idea of the calendar. And so what you can see here, I have it in the January beginning of the semester, right? So you can see this, and we'll talk about that most of the due dates for this class will fall on a Monday night and a Thursday night. Now, I grade daily. That's my goal. So, and there's benefits to working ahead. You'll hear me talk about that in the week one attendance. But in general, just know that waiting until the due date, if you're working towards midnight, I grade first thing the next morning. So having an understanding of how those due dates are handled is really important. The work doesn't go away at midnight. What I do is when I wake up in the next morning, if it's there, I consider it on time. But you can see also, like in week 2 of this semester, we already have our first day campus holiday. So then all the items get moved to the following day. Doesn't mean you can't do them. You can absolutely do them. As a matter of fact, working ahead is a great idea. But if I roll forward, so through January, February, and then into March, what you can see is this course has an ending date of July 12th. It's when your final projects due. It's when the semester for our coursework ends. Of course, the actual semester ends on the 14th, but I just want you to know going in, right, that this course right, there is a timeline, and there we've talked about the weekly assignment, right? So, and the example of the week 2 holiday, and in general, anytime there's a holiday, I move the due date to the next actual campus day. If it's on a Friday, generally those are okay for us because our stuff is due on Thursday. Now, an important part of taking a class. Is, and before I jump into this one, and I should have had it here, but I don't, and I want to show you, is you reviewing the syllabus, okay? Reviewing the syllabus for any course is really helpful because what you can do is see how the instructors, like office hours, right, like tutors, descriptions, right? And by the way, this is important to know, there's no textbook for this course. I have been developing this course for several years to where it uses no paid for you, that you need to pay anything to use it. There's so many resources out there for this topic. Talks about attendance and the importance of attendance. So I'm not going to go through this in detail, but you want to. Now, why do you want to? A, you want to understand what is in here. And B, at the end of week 1, there'll be a review that actually will cover this content. Like how are the items, what are the items, and how much weight do they do each category of assignment types take? Okay, how is late work handled? Okay, is there extra credit? Right, the also academic dishonesty. This is actually one of the things that is generic that the campus gives us as far as content. Right, and one of the things, and by the way, it also shows, which I already did in the calendar, the final project there. But again, this simple syllabus is something you definitely want to think about and understand the content in there and ask any questions because it's really helpful to know as we move through the semester. So for this course, Windows or Mac work fine. Linux, if you're a Linux user, again, I don't use Linux every day. I've used it in my life. I enjoy it. But for the primary operating systems, these are full personal computer operating systems. Can you do this on your phone? There might be some assignments, but in general, you're going to need to have a full computer, especially when we moved from the development environment that you're going to set up. And if you go, Ria, what do you mean by development environment? So in this course, you're going to do some coding of HTML and CSS. So having a development environment set up, which you will do in week 1, is an important part. But in week 1, we're going to do it out on the cloud. But moving to week 3, you're going to do it locally. Now, what does that have to do with this? So in this case, you need to have that local Windows or Mac operating system in order for you to set up that environment. And that's an important skill when it comes to doing this type of work. It is it's very, very common. Some might say ubiquitous, meaning it's just everywhere, and everyone that does it typically knows how to do Git and GitHub, which you will learn in this class. From a browser perspective, I recommend Chrome or Firefox or Brave. I don't have it on here. In general, Edge has gotten better, but I still don't recommend it. And so I just want you to know going in that that's true. I don't recommend, and this is what I said before, so I'm actually going to repeat it. I don't recommend students take all 3 of these. So this course, 28 together might be fine. This course, 93 together might be fine. But all 3 together, I've had students attend this, and I'm just going to say it has not been a good outcome for them because of the level of work that's required for them. So just know that taking this one and one of those other 2 might be fine, but I wouldn't take all of them together. Okay, so this is your welcome video for CIT 82 Intro to Web Development. I can't even say it. My name is Rhea Waller. What do you need to do? So one of the things I want to do here is I actually want to switch, because one of the things I hadn't talked about yet is the idea of how this course is laid out. And this course is laid out through what's called a module, but more importantly, it's laid out to make you, and that's what this item is talking about, is move through it in sequence. Okay? Matter of fact, let me just for a second move back here. Now I'm looking at Canvas as a student, and you won't see this at the bottom, but when you get here, you will see that these items have these little circles here, and it'll say complete all items. So what it means is you have to complete the welcome. Now on the Discord, you just have to view that one, and then once you do that, you'll get week 1, because right now it's locked. So until you move through submitting this item, viewing this item, you can't move on. And this is the way the course is set up, because I understand sometimes if you get behind, which I hope you don't, but understand the late policy and how that works in this class. But if you do, you might have a tendency to think, well, I'll just work on the current content. And with a skill-based course, that's not a great idea. You need to have that, what we call scaffolding skill base, in order to be current with the course. All right, so what do you need to do here to actually now move on to view the information about Discord? And the answer here is you have to give me a GitHub username. Now, if you don't have one, completely free, no worries. So GitHub is the website that we will use to actually do work, and you'll learn about this during the course. So there's Git and there's GitHub. Git is actually what we use to version control our code or our notes or whatever we're doing, and then GitHub is where we share that, and then we can share that either with everyone in the class or with just you and I, and you'll learn about this in week 1. If you don't have a GitHub username, which is totally fine, and go ahead and sign up. During this sign up process, okay, and this is going to create a free account. So if for some reason along the sign up, which I haven't had to do a new sign up in a while, but I've seen other students do this, is if it somehow tries to say, hey, use this paid feature, don't do it. It's completely free. And for students, right, there's going to be, and especially if you're taking 8028, you'll see benefits, and even here, of actually upgrading your account once it's created to an educational verified account. But for now, you can use whatever email you want, and then you continue through. Now, once you finish, as an example, I already have mine, even if I'm not logged in. So my username, right? I know it's hard to see that, but in this case, that is what you're going to need to provide to me in here when you start the assignment, right? In here, just give me that username. Oh, that's actually something else I pasted earlier, right? So whatever that username is, and what I will do is I will invite you into our GitHub organization. Now you're going to learn about that in the week 1 attendance, and then you will hear me talk about it again. But it's important that you get this step done so I can invite you, and you can accept that invite, because it actually has a time expiration. If I invite you 7 days later, it expires and you can't use it, and you'll have to ask me again. There's also what if you're doing it late, right? And so know that this step that you're about to do, the sooner the better. It is important to do. And here's what happens. Once you submit it, and this is what I want you to see, is that once you submit that, you get the nice little graffiti, right? And if I go here, I can hit see next, but I can also, if I come back to the course, I see a check mark, but I also see that I can't move on to here because I haven't viewed the next item. Okay, again, this is the idea of how this course is set up. Hey, I'm glad you're here. I'm excited to get to know you through this course, and reach out, review the syllabus, figure out different ways to connect with me. Generally, it's directly in the inbox of Canvas, but Discord is also out there. So reach out for help when you need it. That's an important thing in any class, especially in a class like this. All right, let's get started with the next item.